Welcome to these live stream reviews. I think I saw that we have 8 coming up. Is that right?
That's what I think so. Yep, I got 8 pulled up here. So
Awesome.
Hopefully you got in last minute. We sent you a couple emails. So if you haven't got your stuff submitted for this one, then check it out for next time.
Awesome. And this is something that we do for our course students. So inevitably, somebody will ask, how do I get my live stream reviewed? You go to collaborateworship.com, sign up for our courses, and you'll get access to get your live stream reviewed once a month if you want to. And we can just make things better along the way, which is really the best way to do it, and that's the way that we're all doing it. But thanks, everybody, for joining in. I see we have several people on. Feel free to jump in the comments and comment and help us help them. Keep all your help helpful, and let's not be critical for no reason. I don't know why people tend to be that way in the YouTube comments, like overly critical.
The virtual, bouncer.
Something like that. But anyway, just be helpful and nice. All right, you ready to get going, Paul?
Let's get started.
So this first one, it looks like, is from Andrew with Cedar Grove Community Church.
Yeah, and I'll say something real quick. Andrew, we actually missed you last month. We saw that this submission was in April, so we apologize, but we're not going to miss you. You're here, so hopefully you're tuning in. And this is Andrew from Cedar Grove. What has he got to say?
He said we have a hard time getting consistent level of overall volume in our stream. Granted, we have multiple people rotating and stream mix engineer, and some of them do weird things with compression, panning, and such, and sometimes we've had to address those things. Still some extra care required at times with our, that's all of us. We're all a work in progress, aren't we? But I think we'd like to know practices to normalize that stream level as a whole and would welcome any and all feedback for vocal mix, band mix, and lighting. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
What I see, well, I see lightning, I hear thunder, something stirring 6 feet under, dead things coming back to life again. I believe there's about to be another resurrection. Well, I see signs and I see wonders. I see bursts of living color. Dead things coming back to life again. I believe there's about to be another resurrection. Resurrection. Come alive. Wake up, sleeper, he is risen, we are risen with him. Well, happy Easter, everybody. Let's get up on our feet. Feel free to clap along with us. Hey.
Awesome.
Hallelujah.
I think overall this is a great mix. I think y'all are doing a good job. I know you're looking to make it better, so the thing that I would say would make it better is it sounds a little bit on the crispy side, or it's a little bit of a sharp mix, like a little too upper end heavy. Like I think you're EQing out too much of the low mids, and so it's lacking a warmth to the mix. So what I would do is I would go and I would look through my low cut filters and make sure that I'm not being too aggressive on those low cut filters all across the board, from the vocals to the instruments. And make sure I'm not doing any boosting in like that 2 to 5 kilohertz range, because that's where it's sounding sharp. So if there's a boost going on there, I would stop boosting there to bring that mix back to give it back some warmth. But I imagine that you're probably just cutting out too much of the low mids, and we just need to kind of bring those up in the mix. Other than that, that's really my only critique on this mix. I mean, somebody who's listening on a phone or something like that is not going to notice what I just talked about because they're not getting those frequencies anyway. What do you think, Paul?
Well, right off the bat, I noticed, this whole thing sounds like a cassette tape, which is really cool for me because it takes me back a little bit. I love the guitar tone. Keep that going. If I had to give any tips, I'd love to hear a punchier bass drum. So maybe if you're going to boost anything, give us a little bit, something we can feel. But that's more in-house probably, so I'm not sure how that feels in-house. What I couldn't hear were the side singers. When the flute came in, heard her loud and clear. So that's great news, but I couldn't hear the backup singers. And then any time that you took a breath and stepped away from the mic, we could definitely tell. So either stay close to the mic or maybe boost the gain just a little bit so it gets a little bit more range, if you're going to step back and move around a little bit. So just something to be aware of, because I kind of lost you on a few of those verses. But other than that, it sounds really great. It just sounds like a high-pass filter just all the way through, which is cool if you're, an 80s guy. But, if you're wanting a full warm sound.
Bring back some of that warmth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I could use some more bass guitar, too, in the mix, along with the kick drum, and then marry those together. So, yeah, great thoughts, Paul. Let's see. I was going to say something. Don't lose. Oh, yeah, you wanted to know, how do we get a consistent mix from week to week? I don't know if you've seen this video in the course yet, but it's in there, in the Consistent Mixing Made Simple course. And I talk about how you need to appoint a position that I call the chief ear tech, and this is the one person in the church that gets to decide what it's going to sound like. And I guess you could, since it sounds like you have a different live stream mix than a room mix. So in that case, I guess you could have probably two chief ear techs, one for the room and one for the live stream. We run our live stream based on the room mix, just a bus mix, so we just have one person that's the chief ear tech. But anyways, that person gets to decide across the team and gets to coach them and say, this is the sound that we're going for. And then, not everybody's going to get that right. So along the way, you say, here's where you got the mix. Here's the parts of the mix that you got right. And here's what we need to work on moving forward. And then over time, your different sound techs will start mixing the same as they're all listening to that one person that's making the decisions. But if you're letting each person make decisions on how it sounds from week to week, that's the greatest cause of inconsistency. Is there's a little bit too much autonomy there. And I mean, whenever you're just letting people decide what they want to hear, we all want to hear something different. Let's be honest. Paul likes a different mix than I like, but he works for Collaborate Worship, so I get to tell him how things are going to sound.
That's right.
But it has to be that way if you want consistency. And it's not that I'm domineering over Paul. He still has freedom. All of my sound techs still have freedom to express their creativity and things like that. I'm not so rigid that I'm trying to get it exactly the same. I'm just trying to get the feel the same from week to week, so that whenever you come to church one Sunday and then you come the next, I mean, most people aren't going to notice subtle differences in a mix. But I don't want it to be real loud one Sunday and then real quiet the next Sunday, or real bass heavy one Sunday and not bass heavy the next Sunday. So
consistency is key.
For sure.
Something we always said in the band world anyway. Mm-hmm. It's got to be the same.
Well, in all aspects of life, that's how you build trust with people. And we do need to have trust with the congregation of the church. They need to, those layers of consistency throughout the things that you do in the church will build that trust. And you can get a lot more done as a church whenever you have a trusting congregation. Imagine if they didn't trust you.
Man, that'd be a tough day.
You'd just be fighting that all the time.
I'm glad we don't have that.
I know, right? That's awesome. Well, thanks for sending that in, Andrew. If you have any further questions, you can always reach out to us on Slack or send us an email. We're always here to help. And if you're tuned in here and you're wondering how to get your live stream reviewed, this is something that we do for our course students. You'll love the courses too, by the way. So go get access to the courses, link in the description, or to collaborateworship.com. Now, I have not been watching the comments here. Somebody asked, can you review our live stream? Just told you how to do that. Same thing there. Hello from Wyoming. Rachel was in Oklahoma City this weekend. We had a family event. Thought about driving out to see us, but it didn't work out. Maybe next time. Yeah, for sure. Come out and see us,
We'll
Rachel.
see you soon.
Yep. Candace thought that one sounded awesome. Let's see. Somebody said drums were overgated. He wasn't hearing the pop from the snare. I didn't notice that per se, but that's a good thing to look into. If your gate is too aggressive, it's not going to open as it should.
And that's why we like the comments too, because we're hearing it through our headphones, but then what are you hearing through your headphones? What are you hearing as we listen? Everyone's got a different medium of what they're listening through. Maybe they're listening through big, nice home theater system at home. So they might be hearing something that we miss.
That's true. Candace also says, that's a great point. She votes that the CET, the chief ear tech, should be the bass player. Yeah, we know why you're voting that, Candace, because you are the bass player. What headphones are you using? Sennheiser HD 280 Pros is what I'm using. Paul's using something different.
Yeah, I'm using the new ones I just got for my birthday, actually. It's the Sony WX1000 HM4. It's a weird name, but they're really great, especially for noise canceling. You don't want to hear anybody? Knock them out.
That's awesome. These Sennheisers are, I like to use them in a mixed environment. They're only about $100. I don't know. With inflation, they might be like 120 or 150 now. Haven't looked at them in a while. But they've always served me well. But I think yours were probably more than $120.
I think so, but
Yeah.
I don't know. They were a gift.
Yeah.
So, but Sennheiser, you can't really go wrong. I mean, you said the HD
HD 280.
280s.
Yeah.
I think the 600s are the standard for audiophiles.
Yeah.
So if you want to get something crazy, but you're be spending thousands, so just spend a couple hundred,
And it gets the job done. Awesome. All right, let's go on to the next one. This is from Kurt with Living Water Church. He has a few issues here that he wants us to help him work out. Issue number 1, the new mics on the vocals. He's having trouble getting rid of the sound from the vocals. We've adjusted mic placement, adjusted the high-pass filter. Any other thoughts? Issue number 2, I'm trying to mix in-house and the live stream in 2 separate buses. Not sure if that's the correct term. How can we get it to just one bus so I don't have to keep switching back and forth? I'll just go ahead and comment on that now. You can go through the Live Stream Mix Made Simple course, and it will walk you through how to get that set up. Let's see, what mixer are you using? You're using the Allen & Heath SQ6. So you might have to do that in correlation with the SQ Mastery course because the Live Stream Mix Made Simple course is using the X32. But I think between those 2 courses, you'll be able to figure that out. But if not, just message us on Slack. We can even schedule a one-on-one coaching call with you to help you get that all set up. Let's see. I have a pair of noise-canceling headphones and try to listen to the live stream, see how it sounds. However, there's a 6 to 8 second delay. When I go home and listen to the live stream, it never sounds the same as what I'm hearing in the house. Our vocals will switch lead, which makes it difficult to adjust both mixes. Yeah, so that's why you need to get it both on one mix, and you don't have to worry about that vocal problem there. And with your headphones, you need to monitor it from the mixer, not from your live stream computer, and that will solve the delay issue. So yeah, right out of the mixer, gives you a live feed, so you're not messing with the delay. That's the best option. And then you can just solo the bus, and you'll be able to hear the live stream mix that way.
Yeah, we talked about that last time, too, because a lot of people were having issues with certain medias, like either YouTube or Facebook or whatever they're mixing or sending their live stream to. They have that extra compression, and you don't want that, especially when you're trying to monitor something. So monitoring straight from the mixer is going to be the best. So,
awesome. Well, let's take a listen.
This is for the lost and lonely, for the broken and afraid. This is for those who are hurting, hoping help is on the way. In these battles of addiction, after me, whatever troubles I am facing, I will lift my hands and sing.
Go ahead and forward. Go forward a little bit.
I may not know what a day may bring, but I know who brings the day. On the darkest night when I cannot see, still my soul will say, my soul will say, I believe in miracle power, in a wonder-working God. I'm filled with the Holy Spirit, working wonders in my heart. I belong to a loving Father. I'm a friend of Christ.
I would say that those vocals are some of the better sounding vocals of all the live streams that I heard. They're clean and they're warm. I like your use of reverb on them as well. The harmonies were, the vocals were meshing well together. I probably would have mixed the harmonies a little lower in the mix, but that's all to taste. So maybe that's how you like it. And if that's the case, then just keep going with that. One thing I noticed, though, is that it's just missing a little bit of energy for me, like the mix overall. Like vocals are shining, but it's the rest of the mix is just kind of like, needs to be better. And I think one of the problems is the vocals are a little too on top of the mix. Like your lead vocal needs to sit right on top of a great solid mix. And right now, your vocal is more like up in the heavens as far as the mix goes. You know what I mean? Just a little too loud.
I see what they're going for.
Yeah. So just bring the vocals down a little bit to give the instruments a little bit more room to fill in that mix. Specifically, the drums need some like reverb on them. We have electronic drums that we're working with. They sound very dry. And that's one of the challenges with electronic drums is how do you make it sound like it's actually there in the room? Because there's really no drums in the room. There's no ambient noise from the drums moving around the room that we're expecting to hear because that's the natural way to hear drums. So one way you can help overcome that is to add like a room reverb to the drums. I don't know how you have those set up. They're probably all coming through one mix, which is kind of a bummer because I don't necessarily want reverb on the kick drum, but reverb on everything else is great. So maybe in your drum head unit, you have the ability to add reverb right there to like your snare, and you can customize it. So I would spend some time there at the drum head unit, see what kind of reverb capabilities are there, and that'll help bring those drums to life. That'll make a big difference in your mix. I'd also bring the drums up in the mix a little bit, and that's where the energy is going to come from. The piano was sounding a little bit like muddy to me, and it's just a little bit low, mid, heavy. I don't want it to be super bright because the piano is a great instrument for creating warmth in your mix. It was just sounding a little bit messy. So I would do a frequency sweep on that. Like you can watch the video on how to do frequency sweeping in the course, and then you just scan through that frequency spectrum and find out what part of the piano is kind of like just irritating. And then once you find out where that is, I'm going to guess it's somewhere between 400 and 800 hertz, if I had to guess on what I'm hearing. But just scan the whole spectrum, listen for what sounds the worst, and then start carving that out, and you'll notice the piano sounds better. So those are the things that stick out to me. What do you think, Paul?
Well, right off the bat, I notice the Roland kit. Now, here's the great thing about the Roland drum kit. You can actually get different modules, those little units to plug into. So if you have some little extra cash that you can invest into that drum kit, what you can do is some of those modules will allow you to separate the bass drum and snare drum, and maybe not all of your toms and cymbals, but at least some of them, so you can have a little bit more control. Some of them will get a little pricey, so you might check some of those out. You can email me and talk to me on Slack. We can try to find what's best for you. But what's nice about Roland is that a lot of those can just be switched out. So you may already have the drums, but you don't have to buy a whole new kit. You can just buy the module. And then you get control with the mixer for those certain triggers that you have. So your bass drum can be dialed in where you want it. Your toms can be the same. If not, then that module, some of them are very finicky, but you got to get in there. And we had to do this for another church nearby who had, it was just baseline church, and they didn't really get anything fancy, but we found that you could separate those channels, even on the cheap one that you might get at Guitar Center. So there is a way you can separate at least one or two of those so you can have a little bit of control to get that. So
and if you only have one or two, what would you pick? Kick and snare on their own?
Kick and snare at least.
Then everything else can be mixed together on
Yep.
the other one. Yeah.
But that's the thing I noticed. That's the great thing about having the Roland kit, is that you get some versatility there. So everything else I heard, as I'm looking at the guitars and I'm looking at the pianos, and I'm thinking everything is all hitting the same frequency spectrum. So it sounds a little muddy because everyone's in the same spot. And so my suggestion
All right, band director.
Yep. We need some high ends, which would be nice to hear. And you've got two pianos, so you're covering the same spot in the frequency. So if they're both 88 keys, I can't tell, but if they're both 88 and you're right in the middle, you're gonna clash with each
Somebody
other.
jump out into the upper octave.
Jump out in the higher up, but be careful going too low because then you're gonna wind up in bass guitar land, and he's gonna get mad. So it's a delicate balance on where you put all these instruments and where you want to mix them into. So I would really spend some time, especially with two pianos. But I think that's where some of the issue is coming from. You're just getting so much right in the middle, and
which is not a mixing problem, it's a instrumental problem.
It's nature of the beast.
Yeah, it's what they're giving you. So like as the sound guy, sound gal, you can't, like, if they're all feeding you the same frequency spectrum because they're all playing in the same area of the keyboard and of the guitar, they're playing bar chords or whatever, there's nothing you can do to fill up the rest of the frequency spectrum because you can't create something out of nothing. If nobody's playing over here, it's just not there. Yeah. So that's whenever you have to have open discussion with the band and say, hey guys, y'all are all giving me the same thing and I really want to, somebody needs to jump out. Whether it's the guitar, start ripping it up higher, or one of the keyboards jumps up and starts doing an arpeggiated thing at the top. Like somebody's got to get out of that mid-range and help me out.
I think that'll help a lot, and that'll clear up all that middle sound. But
awesome. Well, let's see. John gave us a shout out for, he said he recently started using a post-fader bus mix for his live stream, and it's been awesome. It is awesome. It's the best way to do it in the church. I may be a little partial to that, but I've tried it both ways. I've talked to a lot of people who have done it both ways, and in general, post-fader bus mix is the best. Now, there are some special cases where you need a separate mix, but in general, I would say 98% of people can use a post-fader mix and get great results.
Here come the 2% in the YouTube comments.
Here they go. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Kurt, thanks for sending that in, by the way. Charles, this is from Charles with Elvation Baptist Church. Just looking for general guidance on mixed balance. So let's take a listen. Awesome. It's like that's an actual piano, I believe, not like a keyboard.
Yeah.
And we don't hear that very often. It needs some EQ because it's really dominating the mix. The level of the piano could come down a little bit, and you could also carve out some of those low mids or just mids in general, somewhere probably around 500 hertz. I would do that same thing that I talked about in the previous stream where you do a frequency sweep on that piano and find the most ugly part of the piano sound and begin to carve that out. I'm kind of visualizing this is probably going to be a really wide filter that you're putting somewhere around 500, 600, 700 hertz. You'll have to mess with the placement there to figure out what's best. And cutting 4 to 6 dB, I mean, with a pretty big Q value, or I guess it'd be a pretty small Q value, like one or two, somewhere in there. So it's just like carving out those mids and giving the upper frequency spectrum on the piano a little bit of room to shine, so it brings some clarity to the piano. It would just sound better that way. So yeah, there's that, and then the bass guitar needs to come up significantly in the mix. I could kind of hear it. He's the only thing filling in that really low part of the frequency spectrum. So bring him up. Let's hear that bass guitar. And then third thing is you need some reverb on this mix. I wasn't hearing any reverb or ambience, so if you have it on there, you're not using near enough. If you don't have it on there, go through the reverb videos in the course and add that into the mix because it's going to make your mix sound so much better. It's going to just bring it to life. Reverb for the win, especially in a live stream mix. It helps it make you feel like you're in the room and not just getting some dry feed from the mixer. Yeah, what do you think, Paul?
Well, I agree with you about the bass guitar. Here's my tip with acoustic pianos. They're hard to mic. Usually about the lower 1/3 is the sweet spot because you want some of those lows. And a lot of people go right halfway, but it actually more goes towards the high end. So you want a little bit more of those lows. The problem is that a lot of them don't pick up on those lows because of those strings and the way that they vibrate. So you have to usually, I tell people, get 2 microphones. Get one for the lower third by itself, and then one for the top 2/3. So you get
Makes sense.
Yeah, so you can mix the lows of the piano, and a lot of people can't do that. So in this case, like you said, bring the bass guitar up. That's going to fill that in. The main question I had was who's in charge of the vocals, and not like mixer wise, like who's the lead vocal, because they all seemed on the same plane. And what I kind of want to hear is who is singing the melody, and then the harmony needs to be underneath. Maybe just a couple of decibels, but they need to be underneath. That way we let the leaders shine out, get them great, and then the harmonies just come in. And when they're all on the same plane, I don't know how to describe it.
I think
it sounds
makes it
great. Like the harmonies sound great, the vocalists sound great. It's just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, without there being a focus on what the lead vocal is, what is the melody of this song? I mean, I'm always thinking about the congregation. What's best for the congregation? They need something to follow along with. Most people in your congregation are not going to be able to sing harmonies. And so if they hear 3 different parts going on, they're like, which one do I sing with? And maybe they just latch on to somebody and they'd be singing a harmony and not even know it. But my viewpoint is I want to make it easy for the congregation to sing along. So make that melody, the lead vocal, prominent in the mix so the congregation can latch on to whatever that is and sing along with you. Because that's the whole point of lead worship, right? The congregation joins in with you. Yeah.
Yep.
One thing on visuals on this one, you have your lyrics on the top left corner there. And it's really unnecessary because the lyrics up there are actually smaller than the lyrics that I'm seeing in the camera feed. So, the best thing to do with lyrics is to find a way to put them in the lower thirds without a background. I don't know what software you're using for your lyrics. I know ProPresenter has the ability to do that. It's kind of advanced. Maybe you don't want to go that advanced. My recommendation for you is just to take it off the top left corner altogether, because it's not adding anything to this.
Yeah, it's kind of out of my box. This is a Dylan question, but with the lights, I see you've got some lights up here, and it looks like you could really do some neat stuff where you can bring some of the house lights down maybe and really shine that worship team just a little bit. So if you've got some options, you're using a projector screen, so you got to kind of be careful. You don't want to wash that out, but you may have some options there.
Yeah, you could pan your camera down too, because there's no reason for us to see the ceiling. Where the top of the frame should probably be about the top of the projector, if you can pull that off. And then I see the camera's off center. Maybe that's all you have to work with. A lot of churches have a center aisle, so you can't put the camera actually in the center. So you're left working with something like this. But I still think you could pan that camera over to the right a little bit and make it look more centered. But yeah, I'm getting into Dylan's space now, and he's probably thinking, Kate just needs to shut up.
You'll get an email later.
Let's stick to sound. All right, so let's go ahead and move along to the next one. Thanks for sending that in, Charles. And this next one's from Jeff in Grace in Community Church. He says he has an issue with general mix and effects with only 4 effects channels on the Behringer X18. We have a small hall reverb on vocal, plate reverb on instruments, and hall reverb on drums. The 4th effects is a delimiter to boost volume for the live stream. Also, general comments to improve the live stream will help. Okay, little tidbit on your effects setup. You don't need more effects. 4 is plenty. So don't see that as a limitation. 3 reverbs is more than enough, but I'm going to recommend that you change the type of reverb that you're using on these certain things. Plate reverb works best on vocals. Hall reverb works best on instruments. And a room reverb works best on drums. So you kind of have that mixed up a little bit. You get those things straightened out, and you're going to be more happy with your reverb. Go see the effects or the reverb video in the course. It'll walk you through those 3 different effects and how to use them. But let's go ahead and take a listen.
I'll praise in the valley, praise on the mountain. I'll praise when I'm short, and I'll praise when I'm down.
All right, so regarding reverb, that's what this mix mainly needs. Like, that's the missing ingredient. There is no reverb in this mix, and that makes me wonder if you've yet to figure out how to get the reverb to your live stream bus. Like, maybe you have it in the room, but it's definitely not coming through this live stream mix. That's more of a technical question that we need to walk you through if you haven't figured out how to do that. So message us on Slack, and if that's the case, and we can walk you through it. Otherwise, maybe you just need to turn it up. Like, it's just really low, and you need to add a whole lot more reverb here, because I'm not hearing it at all. It sounds like there's no reverb on the vocal.
Yeah, I'm not either.
No reverb on anything. And so this mix sounds very dry and dead because of that. It just needs some reverb. And also, I was noticing the drum mix as a whole just needs some work, and I wonder if you need to start with getting new heads and tuning the drum heads so that you can get a better sound to work with before it even comes into the mic. A lot of people miss that step. They're using heads from 5-10 years ago, and they don't realize that they need to change those about every 6 months at the bare minimum.
Yep.
I think we've went as long as a year, just kind of forgetting about it. But the recommendation is to do it every 6 months. And we like to have our local drum shop guy. There's a place called Drum World of Tulsa. All he does is sell drums, and he'll also come out and change your heads and tune your drums. And I mean, that's his specialty, so he's really good at it. He comes in, our church changes the head and has them perfectly tuned in like such little time. It's like,
Yeah.
How did you do that? That was amazing. Because I would have been sitting here like finicking with it, trying to get it to sound right. So it's always great to pay the professionals to give you a great starting point. So I would look around your city and see if you have somebody who would come in and do that. For us, it costs like less than $200. So it's just totally worth it to do that.
Yeah, that's top and bottom heads. I mean,
Yeah.
that stuff takes a while.
And have somebody come out and do it. Yeah, so start there. Really get your drums in top condition before you even work with what you're sending to the mixer. Because it's going to, there's an old adage, which is funny for a lot of people, but not funny for some, but you can't polish a turd. Have you heard that one before, Paul?
I have heard that one.
And it's true. So if they're giving you something that's just sucks, like they're giving you a sound that sucks from the drums because they haven't changed the heads and they haven't tuned them, or in a guitar sense, they haven't tuned the guitar, they haven't changed the strings. Like,
There's
it's
a big
like
difference.
Start at the source. Like, let's get this as best as it can be before we even put a mic on it, before we ever plug it in. And that's going to make it so much better on the sound, guys. So you're not back there doing some crazy EQ gymnastics to try to get something to actually sound good, because chances are it's not going to sound good even after you do all that anyway. So get your drums tuned up and then go through the drums video in the course, and I'll walk you through compression and EQ on all of those drum mics so that you can get them sounding their best. The drums are like the star of this type of worship music. You're doing very modern worship music here. The drums need to shine. They need to be their best, or the song's just going to fall flat. That's just how it is in this type of song. So work hard on your drums. It's going to take you some time. It's the hardest part of the mix, the drums. So once you dial that in and you put in the effort to learn how to mix drums properly, it's going to make everything else a whole lot easier, because you just did a lot of work to do that. But I'm going to pass it over to Paul to talk about the electric guitar tone that we were hearing there.
Yeah, definitely a little powerful in that. I heard a lot of clipping, which means either there's not enough gate or ducker on there. You might take a look at that, because I'm hearing a lot of just powerful clicks coming from the guitar. Let me hear that one more time, just so I get my ears back on that.
And I'll praise when I'm doubting. I'll praise when outnumbered. Praise when surrounded. 'Cause praise is the water my enemies drowning. As long as I'm breathing, I've got a reason to pray.
So that's the bass guitar that I'm hearing that's clipping through that. So you might take a look at that. The electric guitar has got some low EQ, and to bring him out, because he's playing bar chords, he's playing all 6 strings, bring that out with, letting some highs come through. So if you've got a low cut on that at all, let him shine through that. You might take a look at your EQ, you might even look at the PEQ to see what's missing in other spots. But we need to hear all 6 strings that he's playing, especially the high 3, because the bass guitar is going to cover that low, and the piano is going to cover that too. So the electric guitar, We need some more. And what I'm hearing is just a lot of lows. That could be a distortion pedal that you're using, and that just turn up the drive a little bit and turn up the tone. Make sure that tone's on a more higher end. I think that's going to help out too. But that's my first thoughts. What do you think?
So you're saying the lows on the electric guitar need to be carved out, like there's too much
Yes.
of them. So another option would be a low shelving filter. You could set that pretty high, like around 700 or 800 hertz, and you could carve out the whole low frequency spectrum using a filter like that, which is a technique that I like to use, especially if I'm in a hurry and I don't have time to do a frequency sweep and figure out which low frequency is really causing the problem. I'll just start carving them out with a low shelving filter. 1 dB, 2 dB.
Yeah.
I mean, small adjustments make a big difference whenever you're doing something like that. The bass guitar just sounds funny to me, and that doesn't have anything to do with the mixer. I think it has everything to do with the bass guitar itself. And I'm not a bass guitar expert. So if this were my church, I would be like, all right, so
Have you changed your strings?
have you changed your strings? Maybe we need a new bass guitar at this point. What about the EQ knobs on the bass guitar? I always tell the guitar to just set them all in their notch center and let me do the EQing. But what do you think about that? Because you're the guitar expert. Let's just talk bass guitar.
Well, for me, I like turning the tone knob all the way up, which is the highs all the way up. That way, in the mixer, you can always bring the lows in. But I like a punchier sound, and so when you turn those tone knobs all the way up, no matter which pickup set you're on, so if you may have a switcher on yours, but I turn the tone knobs to their highest position. That way the mixer can bring up your lows, and that'll make that kind of stand out just a little bit more. But if you've got it in the middle, then you're going to get a lot of the lows, and then if they try to add some more lows to that, they're getting a lot more lows, and they're really missing out on the punchiness.
The attack.
The attack.
The rhythmic part of the
From
bass
your
guitar.
fingers.
Yeah.
And he's using, thankfully he's not using a pick. But, when you want to hear that attack on the finger. Like when that hits the string, you want to hear that. And you don't hear that if you turn the tone to a low level. So even the mids, but if you turn it up at the mixer, you turn the lows up, you're going to lose that. So you just hear a muddled woo sound, and you kind of miss all the attacks. So turn it all the way up, see what it gets you. But that's my school of thought. Everyone else has got their own, and that's okay. But I like a punchier bass.
Me too. I agree. But do you think that changing strings on the bass guitar would improve the sound of that bass guitar?
Yes, it would.
Okay.
Changing the strings, making sure your neck, and you've got a rosewood neck, so you've got to oil it up. You got to make sure that it's taken care of. And then a lot of times we don't think about it for bass guitar. We just let it go, and I'll change them in 3 years. But change them. Make sure your frets are good. Make sure everything is looking good. Check your inputs, because a lot of times if you got an older bass guitar, those input jacks are easy to actually wear out. I don't know why.
Interesting.
Unless you spend a couple $1,000 on a bass, those input jacks go out.
So is this a situation where it might be beneficial to take the bass guitar to a luthier and have them just change the strings, check the neck, straighten it out if needed?
I would.
Give it a little tune-up.
I would. It's worth the $50 or maybe $100, depending on where you're at. But it's worth that just to go, here you go. I don't want to mess with it. They're going to make sure that as you play the higher notes, they're intonated, so they're in tune when you play up high. But if they're also in tune when you play low, you got new strings, your neck is polished, it's conditioned, everything is set to go, and everything sounds good. And so they'll even put, if you ask them, make sure that they put some little bit of grease oil inside of the little pickup. So when you want to change your volume or your tone, you don't get a crunchy sound as that happens. That happens a lot with guitars too. But yes, take it to a luthier. There's one in town I go to, and it's much easier. I could do it myself. I just don't want to.
Yeah.
And it's much faster.
There you
Takes
go.
10 minutes.
Plus, you get to provide a job for somebody.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, we have a DIY type of society right now, but don't lose sight of the fact that when you hire somebody to do something for you, you're helping them provide for their family. You're providing for a job. And I can't think of a better use of money than to do stuff like that. And that's really God's intention, is for us all to help each other. We pass money around to help each other feed our families and stuff like that. And we're helping each other, and it's a beautiful thing. So take it to a luthier. You can just Google luthier in your city, and I bet there's one somewhere close by, unless you live out at the top of a mountain in Colorado or something like that. All right, thanks for sending that in. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next one. This one's from Rachel with Black Hills Cowboy Church, and we get to hear hers often, so let's take a listen.
In the seeking, Lord, I find you. In the doubt, and to know you is to love you, and to know so little else I need you. Oh, how I need you. Oh, how I need you. Oh, how I need you. Lord, I find you in the seeking. Lord, I find you in the doubt. And to know you is to love you, and to know so little else I need.
Awesome. Thanks. I love hearing that upright bass. It's a different kind of bass sound, so it's a good thing we have a visual of it, because I'd be like, well, that bass sounds different.
Yep.
That's why.
No, I love those.
It's an upright bass. I love this style of music, and you're doing great things. I'm going to give you just two small things to take it up to the next level. I think that piano needs a little bit more of reverb on it. Everything else has some great reverb, and it kind of sounds like it's all by itself without the reverb, like it got left out. So add your hall reverb to that piano to bring some life to it. And then the second thing is lead vocal. She's sounding really good. Love the way you have her EQ'd. Love the reverb you're using on her, but she's just too loud in the mix. So bring her down, and it would make the whole mix make more sense, because she's kind of, like we talked about in that previous live stream, it needs to sit right on top, and she's kind of up in the heavens right now. So bring her down. Yeah, what do you think, Paul?
Man, I thought this was great. I mean, the double bass is mic'd really, really well. I love how that comes through. The guitar is really well. I don't really have too much to say. I would like to hear a little bit broader spectrum of the guitar, but me being a little bit finicky on time, because I'm a drummer, I would love to hear everybody on the same time. And it didn't sound too bad, but if you're not using click tracks for anything like this, then it's definitely good to get a rehearsal in, so we know exactly what the speed is. We're all moving together. The bass hits together at the same time the guitar hits, and then that way the vocals can be right in together too. So I hear a little bit of that, but that's the old band director in me. I'm like, it's kind of in time, but it's kind of not. So
Kind of freestyle.
yeah, it's freestyle, and that's great. I love freestyle stuff, but it's also nice to be in time. Please be in time.
Click, 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 click. Do I hear a click,
Yep.
click track coming? Somebody made a comment that the autofocus needs to be adjusted because it's focusing on the audience and not the people on the stage. And that's correct, because they're all fuzzy up there, and the audience is nice and crisp. So, yeah, either disable autofocus, or maybe it has a thing where you can tap on the faces of the people on the stage so it knows where to focus. Yeah.
I'd even go as far as saying, if you can, move the camera over towards the center. And if you've got, like Pro Presenter, where you can put the lyrics on the live stream somewhere on there, but then let the whole thing just be the worship team. And then, you got the TV for a reference for the audience, but do we need that in the shot? We can put that, in a little sub deal on the Pro Presenter, and then we can just get the whole worship team. We can kind of get a zoom in on everybody, and that's nice. And then we can zoom back out when it's time for the pastor to start speaking. So that's a thought. I don't know if you can do that, or if you want to.
All right, we have Rachel, thanks for sending that in, by the way. It's always a pleasure to hear your church. And I saw that you had somebody new mixing on Sunday, and you wanted some feedback for him. So there was some feedback, and I think that they did a great job. You're doing a great job training them. Good job, Rachel. We do have a question. Somebody gets a lot of bleed in their drum mics from the other drums and cymbals. You also get a lot of bleed into the vocal mics. Any suggestions? Yes, first of all, you can try different sticks for your drummer. You can change, if they're using regular sticks, you can change to rods, and it's going to give a whole different sound to your drums, and it's going to cure a lot of the mic bleed as well. So I would start there, and also having lots of conversations with your drummer and say, I need you to play a little quieter, please. That's the best plan of action for curing the mic bleed, especially since it's coming through the vocal mics as well. And then, of course, you can mess with shielding and things like that. It's all you just kind of have to try things and figure out what gets the best sound from your drums. And as far as drum bleed between the different drum mics, first thing I would look at is placement. So, like, for example, the mic that you have pointing at tom 1, you could put it over on the left side of the tom, and then it's kind of pointed at tom 1, and it's picking up tom 2 and 3 too, because they're sitting over here. Better placement would be to kind of put it more in the center, so it's only pointing at tom 1, and it's not far enough to the right to be picking up the drum too. So just pay attention to like what else behind the drum is being picked up by this drum mic, and point your mics and position them correctly, and that will help with some of the bleed. Along with, combine that with gating your drums so that that specific mic only opens whenever you hit that specific drum. So you need to go see the drum gating video in the course, and I'll walk you through all the details of how to do that. You'll need to set aside some time to do that. It takes a little while to gate your drums, but it's really a fun process once you figure out what you're doing. And that course video will walk you through it.
Yeah, we put out a video a couple months ago about a drum shield, and we did some comparisons about what it sounds like without a drum shield, and then with just a simple shielding, and then even with the extra coverings. So you might want to go check that out too if you're in the market, looking at drum shields and you're looking for things like that. So that would be a go-to if you just want a comparison, kind of see how it sounds.
Yeah, so you'll find that on our YouTube channel, which, by the way, if you're not subscribed, smash that subscribe button, because we're always bringing you new content here on the YouTubes. Let's see. Somebody's using a Matrix mix for their live streaming, but they need drums in live streaming, not in the main speaker. Can you help me, please? Well, you can't use a Matrix then. If you want drums only in the live stream and not in the room, you'll have to use a bus mix at that point so that you can have some more control. A Matrix only allows you to create a copy of your main mix and then do something different with the overall mix. Like, you can add compression to the overall mix, you can add EQ to the overall mix, but you can't adjust the actual mix itself. You're just duplicating the mix and then doing other things to it. So that's what a Matrix does. A bus mix allows you to change the individual channels that are going to that mix and customize your mix. And you can set those to either pre-fader or post-fader. If you set it to pre-fader, that gives you full control to where your bus mix is basically just another mix. You're going to have to go into like sends on fader and adjust that mix separately from the main mix. If it's set to post-fader, that means that it's going to follow what's going on in the main mix, but it still gives you the ability to adjust the level in the bus mix. So, for example, you have a lead vocal that you're adjusting in the main mix. If your bus mix is set to post fader, when you bring that vocal down in the room, it's also going to bring it down in the bus mix, but it's going to be relative to how loud you have that vocal in the bus mix. If you have it set at 0 for the bus mix, it's going to be identical to what's going on in the room, but then you have some adjustment. You can make it just a little bit louder in the bus mix or a little bit quieter in the bus mix, but it's still going to follow what's going on in the main mix. It's just going to be relative. See what I'm saying? Hopefully that helps give you a visual.
Yeah, a lot of people have been asking about matrix mixes, about where to use them, because it seems easy. Mm-hmm. It's a quick one fader, but really, and you can add a little bit, like he said, compression. It's great for sending stuff to the lobby or maybe to a kid's room, and you just want to have the music or have what's going on out here, but you only got like some small speakers, and you don't want to send all the stuff out to those speakers. But you want full control when it comes to your live stream. And so having that bus mix, you've got to have it. I say it's a must-have.
For sure. Yeah, don't use a matrix mix for your live stream mix. It just doesn't have enough customization. So, yeah, there you go. So when you move that to a bus mix, then you'll be able to, you need to set the drums to pre-fader, since you're going to have them all the way down in the main mix. That'll allow you to pull them into the bus mix as you want them. So I ask, what effect should I use in front of house? Use the same strategy that I just talked about. My strategy with reverb is I use plate reverb on vocals, hall reverb on instruments, and a tight room reverb on drums. Now I also like to add a little bit of the hall reverb that I set up on the vocals too. So the vocals are going to be primarily plate reverb with a little bit of hall reverb mixed in. That kind of serves as the glue that brings everything together. There's a video in the course on Reverb that goes into detail on how to set that up on your specific mixer. We also have a video on YouTube that'll give you some more insight on this. So go search our YouTube channel for Reverb and learn away.
I feel like there's some cheat sheets out there for that.
Probably
too.
a cheat sheet too. Yeah. Awesome. All right, let's carry on to the next one. Let's see, we have 4 left. This one's from Paul, Destiny Life Church. He said, sounds great in the room. They're just looking to make it sound better online. So let's take a listen.
A little bit. Ross, do you want to give me some
Fast forward a little
sound? Room, Lord. And therefore, Father, we set our minds and we set our hearts.
Your glory, God, is what our hearts long for. Be overcome by your breath, Holy Spirit, Holy Spirit. You are welcome to flood this place. Yes, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Your glory, God, is what our hearts long for. Be overcome by your breath. There's nothing worth more.
Awesome. I'm liking it. I really had to listen for something that I could give you to make it better. So just know that you're doing a great job. I don't think that anybody in the congregation would complain about this mix. They would be happy listening to this at home or on their phone or whatever. One thing so this is just me being like nitpicky with it because you submitted it, so I figure you want some feedback. The lead vocal guy could use a little EQ cut somewhere in the upper mids. He sounds a little bit on the nasally side, and that's probably just his tone, and that's not a critique on his tone. We all just have different tone, but you can use EQ to just polish the sound for him. I have to do that on Dylan, too, whenever he's singing. He's a little bit heavy in like the, I think it's the 600 hertz range. And so I always am carving that out of his mix just to help him to shine, take a little bit away of that nasally tone, and just make it more of a pure type of tone. So same situation with this guy. Use a frequency sweep to find out where that is. It's going to hit somewhere between 500 and 800 hertz. And you can just boost that filter up, scan across that range, find out where he sounds the most nasally, and then you can carve that out. You're going to be impressed with how much clarity that brings to his vocal. Because the female, she's sounding really clean. She's sounding great. I love how the acoustic guitar sounds. I love how the piano sounds. I think the bass guitar could be a little better. It was sounding a little swimmy to me. It just needs to be tightened up. And I need to do some more research into this because our bass guitar here at No Limits, which is Paul's wife, she gives us a great tight tone to work with. And I know that she has a pedal that she's using to help deliver us that tone at the mixer because we're not having to do a lot at the mixer to tighten up her tone. We're still compressing it at the mixer pretty heavily. And that's something that you can do on bass guitar. You can add some heavy compression on bass guitar. That way it's pretty consistent throughout the mix and there's not a lot of dynamic range. But I know that she's compressing it and stuff too with her pedal. So what's going on at her pedal to give that tight, punchy bass sound?
I don't know. I actually haven't messed around with her pedal too much.
We need to figure that. We need to do a video on that.
We got a video, so it's coming soon.
So Paul's going to do a video on his wife's bass guitar pedal and what exactly is going on there to give us that tight, punchy bass sound.
Yeah, some of that might be the bass guitar. We were blessed to be able to get a really nice Music Man bass. Found it for a really good price at a local shop. And so, it was a little pricey. But investing in a really good bass guitar or just a guitar in general, it's gonna really help.
Makes a difference.
It could be the pedal, it could just be the bass guitar, but we'll check out the pedal. We'll do a video on it. We'll show you guys what we're using. So
you should do a video
that
of the A and B's, the bass guitar by itself, so we can see what it sounds like by itself with the pedal added on, and then with what we're doing at the mixer added on, and then explain all the 3 layers, and we can figure out what it is that's making it sound so awesome. Because her bass guitar sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We like it. It's probably her small fingers.
That's awesome. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. This one's from Leroy with Calvary Baptist Church. So did we already do Calvary Baptist Church? Nope. This sounds familiar. We had some equipment changes, which includes our mixer, processor, video switcher, and encoder. Okay, so you just like changed out the whole thing. That was a lot of work. So we'd just like some to check on our live stream output. So they're using the Wing now. Let's take a listen. Go ahead and scan forward and see if they fixed that. All right, well, I don't think on this, you're clearly having some technical problems with this one. It sounds like it's not even using the mixer feed. That almost sounds like it's picking it up from a MacBook microphone or something in the back of the room is what that sounds like to me.
It kind of does.
Yeah, there's lots of digital noise going on, so there's nothing really to critique here. We just need to figure out what's the technical problem here, because that is not from your mixer. I know that for sure. There's no way what we're hearing there could come from a mixer. It's coming from another microphone somewhere else, probably from the computer or whatever. So if you need help figuring that out, you can reach out to us, and we can schedule a coaching call. We can even get on FaceTime and like just help you walk through whatever that problem is.
Yeah, I had a lot of issues whenever we were trying to connect with some of our microphones with our interfaces, because it likes to default to the MacBook microphone, or if you got one in your iMac, and if you don't change it, then it's just going to default to that. So you've got to make sure that your inputs and outputs are all correct on that. And I've made that mistake more than once. So don't feel bad.
Don't feel bad. Paul's done it. That's awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. This is from RJ Kui, if I said that right, Every Nation Church. So let's take a listen.
Good morning. I just want to share to you a little story. Before we begin, I was reading in the book of Chronicles this week, and I was made a fool of death and grave. Oh, King Jesus, you made royals out of slaves, and now there's breakthrough. Now there's freedom in your name. You gave us power and the keys to do the.
Awesome. You had a good thing going there. The main thing that needs to happen here is the overall mix needs to be brought down. I don't know if you noticed how much louder that was at the beginning than all the other live stream mixes. So you're pushing some crazy volume out of this mix, which is making it sound a little bit over compressed. So just know you don't have to give people that much volume. You can dial this back a bit, and it's going to give your sound some more roundness. I'm impressed with how those drums sound when he's using that little drum pad right there.
He's using, I think that's a Yamaha D12.
Wow.
And I've seen those before.
I'm impressed.
They are sensitive based, so the harder you hit them, the louder they'll be. So if you're having any issues with that, you can start with that, because those things are awesome. We've used those before, not here at church, but in marching bands.
Yeah.
They're great little things to use.
I'm impressed with the sound of it. Like the drummer has done a good job picking the specific sounds that he's using in that kit, and yeah, it's good. Let's see. The only other thing I noticed is that one of the guitars is out of tune, and so that makes it hard for me to. I think EQ wise and things like that, it sounded great, but it's funny how one guitar out of tune just throws the whole thing off. Did you notice the same thing? And you know which one it is?
I noticed it. And I'm going to go with the electric guitar on this one.
Okay.
So
somebody's out of tune, so just make sure your team is tuning right before service starts. Like you do that the last minute of the countdown, right?
Yep.
Tune that guitar again.
Just one more time.
One more time.
And a lot of times, especially like on electric guitar, this is why I'm going straight for the electric. You're playing the higher notes, and the higher notes you play, intonation can get bad. So if you haven't checked intonation in a little while, and that's all done at the bridge, you can do that, or again, you can take that to a luthier. They'll fix you up pretty quick. But check the intonation, because the higher up you play, usually the flatter the notes get, because they're not quite there. But you can fix that through things at the bridge. But with the electric guitar, you've got to add some effects on this. If you got no pedals for any sort of delay or reverb or anything, you've got to add something to him, because he's nice. It's nice to have him up in that higher range. We've been talking about that this whole live stream so far, and I love to hear him in the high range, but there's nothing. He's just dead in the water. It's like, so don't leave him out there by himself, just ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding. No, please give him some reverb, or get a delay pedal or a chorus pedal, get something. So, because I do a lot of plinkies when I play electric guitar.
Plinkies.
Yeah, that's what we call them. And you gotta, I have my, it's an MXR carbon copy. It's an analog delay pedal, and just a little bit adds just enough to help the mixer not have to work so hard. So,
yeah. Reverb for the win,
please,
on the electric guitar. Other than that, though, your mix sounds great. You're pushing that volume too hard. Once you dial that back, it's going to sound even better. Your visuals are looking good. Love how you have the lyrics on the lower thirds. You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Keep pressing forward.
I want to hear this again. Not now, but
you're going to go back and listen some more. Yeah, to the plinkies. All right, one more to go.
One more to go. I got to get this one pulled up.
But before we do that, let me check the comments here, make sure I'm not missing anything. What do you think about live stream in Russian church? I don't know. I think that, I don't know what your question is specifically on that. Like, should a Russian church do a live stream? I don't think that there's anything wrong with any church doing a live stream. I also don't think there's anything wrong if a church chooses not to do a live stream. I chose not to do a live stream for a long time, and then COVID came around and forced us to live stream, and we've been doing it ever since. Now, do I like the live stream today? I have a love-hate relationship with it because it's kind of a necessary thing in society now, because that's how people visit your church first, is they watch you on the live stream. I don't know that we've had one visitor that says, I've been watching you on the live stream for the last 3 weeks and finally decided to come. They all say that. So it's like, well, glad we had the live stream.
Yeah. I mean, we had a visitor from, Arizona or New Mexico not too long ago?
Yeah, New Mexico. They come from out of state just because of the content that we post online. Now, the question is, would people come out of curiosity and see what's going on in this place if we did not have a live stream? Anyway, just whatever you and your church agrees to do, go for it. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here. Do a live stream, not do a live stream. Pray about it. See what the Lord has for you. All right, this last one is from Zach, Life in Christ SDA Church. The drum mix does not seem balanced in the mix. So he wants us to mainly comment on the drums here. Let's take a listen.
I'm trading my sickness.
I hadn't heard this song in a minute.
I'm trading my pain. I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. Sing that again. I'm trading my sorrow.
Go ahead and go forward on this one so we can hear more of those drums.
Sorrow, they last for the night. Joy comes with the morning. I'm trading my sorrows. I'm trading my shame. Oh, I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. I'm trading my sickness.
All right.
I'm trading.
Let's talk about those drums. I think I'm hearing mainly the overhead mics, but I don't even know that I'm hearing a lot of those. I think I'm just hearing ambient noise coming through the vocal mics and things like that is what I'm mostly hearing from the drums. And so that's what's leaving them lacking. And that's why you're like, what's wrong with the drums in my mix? You need more direct sound from the drums. I can't tell if you have your snare mic'd. I kind of see a mic pointing over that direction, so hopefully that you do. You need a mic specific to the snare that's real close to the snare head, pointed towards the center of the snare. It should be no more than an inch away from the snare head, just like real close, so it's picking up the punch of the snare. I love to have a mic under the snare too, because that top mic gives you the punch, the bottom mic gives you the strand noise, the clarity of this, the click, like the shine of the snare. So, but if you don't have two mics, the one mic is better than no mic. Same thing on your toms. They need to be mic'd individually if you want to hear them like you hear them in an album and things like that. Kick drum, I wasn't even hearing the kick drum, so we need some love on the kick drum. The kick drum needs its own mic as well, so maybe you need to invest in a drum mic kit if you're trying to just pick up everything with two overhead mics. Not going to work in songs like this. You're never going to get the punch out of the drums with the overhead mics. The overhead mics are for picking up the clarity of the kit. It can add some dimension to the kit. It'll bring the cymbals into your mix. That's what the overheads are for. The punch comes from the close-up mics to those each individual drums. So get those mics in place. You can use an SM58. You can use an SM57 if that's all you have laying around. You could probably pick up those at a pawn shop somewhere. So there really is no excuse not to have these mics. Like just go get them. My favorite mic kit is the Audix DP7, I think is what it is.
I was just about to say that.
That's what we use here at our church, and it sounds great. It's about $1,000. It's probably more than that now for all of your mics. So you can, if you don't have $1,000 to spend, just go get your Shure SM57 and make that work.
Well, they've got different ones too, so you can get a little 4-pack. I think it's only like $400 or $500.
Well, there you go.
So you don't have to get a full set of mics because you already have some.
Yeah.
So if you only need a couple, one for the kick, snare, toms,
Yeah.
that's about it. So you don't have to get a full 8-mic setup.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
I love Audix mics. Like they're hands down one of the best for me.
Awesome. And then once you get your mics, there's quite a bit of work that you have to do on drum mics at the mixer. They all need compression. They all need gating. They all need reverb. And we walk you through all of that in the course. So I'm not going to go through that now. Just go find the drum video in the course and go step by step and add those things to the drum mics. And just start from the beginning. I'd say just clear out everything that you have for the drums so far. Clear it out, start fresh, and just watch that video and set it up exactly as I teach in the video. And those drums are going to start sounding a lot better. Now, we didn't mention that you should actually probably start by changing the heads, like we talked about with the previous live stream, so that you have something great to work with from the beginning. Like, because I was noticing what I could hear of that snare is not a snare sound that I want to hear. So if what you're hearing naturally from the snare without any mics or anything is like, I don't even like the way that sounds, then what do you expect? I mean, all you're going to do is amplify that by putting a mic on it.
Yeah.
So you need to find a snare that you do like. You may even have to like get a different snare. We went to the drum store here in our town, and they laid out several different snares for us. We went through and we hit each one until we found the sound that was closest to what we were looking for, and that's the snare that we use today.
Yep.
Because the snare is a big part of modern worship music in the mix. If your snare's not right, it's just kind of like wah, wah, wah.
And then cymbals.
Yep.
I'm a cymbal guy.
So yeah, drums. Work on drums. That'll be enough to work on until the next time you submit your live stream. Anything else you want to say about drums? I know there's other things we could say about the mix, but I just want to keep it on drums for now.
Yeah, you said pretty much everything I was going to say. And, you know, if all I'm seeing right here is overhead mics, doing a pretty good job with just overheads. I want to give you that, you know, but dial those in. I really don't have too much to say. Drummers, I mean, everyone's on point. I mean, this stuff sounds pretty good. So
Awesome.
you kind of hit everything I was going to say.
Sweet. Zach, thanks for sending that in. Thank you, everybody, for sending these in. If you're on here and you want your live stream reviewed, all that's required of you is to become one of our students here at Collaborate Worship. You'll be joining more than 13,000 people around the world in our courses that are using them to make it easy to create great sound. That's what we do for you. We narrow it down to the essentials that you need to know so that you can quickly create a great sound and you can easily train new people to join the team, and you're all creating great sound together. That's what Collaborate Worship is all about. You can get into our courses for as low as $35 a month. There's also annual options that save you some money, and there's a lifetime option as well. So just use the link in the description or go to collaborateworship.com, click on courses, and you'll get all the info there. Anything else you'd like to say, Paul, before we go?
No, check out the church team because we have the worship musician package. And I show you how to play the electric guitar, bass guitars, drums, and a little bit of music theory. So if you're wanting some new team members on the worship team, you might check out those too. So
yeah, so you can get audio training and training for your instrumentalists as well, because it takes both to create great sound. Awesome. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you again in about a month. Have a great one.
see you guys.